Latest on Kyrie Irving's status after missing the last 3 games due to personal reasons. Stick around to find out why the league is now investigating and examining this video of Kyrie maskless at a family party.
At least they watermarked it. What website is this on?
He has missed the Nets' last 3 games due to personal reasons. While Irving was already ruled out of his 4th straight game tonight against the Nuggets, sources tell our Adrian Wojnarowski and Malika Andrews that he is not expected back with the Nets at any point this week. That would take him up to 6 straight games that he would miss. Woj and Malika also reporting the league is reviewing videos circulating on social media of a maskless Kyrie at what appears to be a family birthday party. Now, NBA Twitter's resident internet sleuth, Worldwide Wob, dissected the video. He showed a bunch of balloons with the number 30 on them. Kyrie's sister turned 30 this week. Of course, it's the league's office investigation that counts. But if the video is found by the league to be recent, that behavior would be a breach, guys, of the league's coronavirus protocols. Quick reminder, if a player misses a game for a COVID violation, he loses 1/72nd of his salary, only 72 games this year. That would be roughly $460,000 per game for Kyrie. Oof. Richard, you call Nets games. How do you feel about this current situation?
It's a little frustrating from the standpoint of, at first, Steve Nash didn't know why he was missing time, right? Like, he was like, I haven't spoken to him. Then obviously there was some sort of communication, and it was personal reasons. That's fair. But within the personal reasons, no one's saying Kyrie can't celebrate his sister's birthday. No one's saying he can't.
Well, the NBA is saying he can't do that in a group without a.
But I'm saying that with what we saw there, they're saying you can't do. But you're saying, like, yo, you want to have 5, 6 people over at your house. You want to have 10 people over at your house. You want to get rid of cell phones and be like, hey, no cell phones. This is a private part. We did COVID testing coming in. This is what we did. Fine. But to not be around your teammates, to not really have any sort of communication, I want Kyrie to get the help that he needs. If he has personal reasons, please get that help. But you got to communicate with your team, your teammates, and then you have to make sure that you're doing all of the COVID necessary things because of where we.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I don't know what's going on in this kid's life, and I don't want to speak on that. Yes, he wasn't abiding by the rules at this birthday party.
If it was recent, we don't have that confirmed yet.
You know, you have to have verbiage with your teammates, with the organization, because stuff like this can cost y'all games. Because if he's ready to go, but then he has to sit another 7 to 10 days because it has to be in protocol, you're not thinking about the team or the organization. And so, but handle what you need to handle. Get back. I hope he gets back okay, but you still got to play by the rules.
Yeah, and there was a lot of talk about James Harden, right? James Harden is was trying at the time. So he was like, oh, I'm done in Houston. He's trying to go someplace else. Well, Brooklyn is where Kyrie wanted to go. Brooklyn is where Kyrie wanted to be. Kevin Durant, they was like, this is the team. This is what we want to build, establish. We want to do it together, and we want to go on this journey. So your behavior now doesn't look like that, right? If you're unhappy for whatever reason, get the health, get the happiness that you need, but understand that the game will continue to move on, right? If Kyrie, if you don't want to play basketball, we'll support you. Many of players have been activists, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Brown, so many people. Like, we're not trying to take away from your activism if you need time off, but also if you need time off, then go get it. But right now, it's just a bad look. And he doesn't owe it to anyone, to us. But the league will continue to move on whether or not he participates in it or not.
Richard, I don't know. I'm talking to Nets players because, again, you're with the team sometimes calling their games. Yeah. I don't know how much communication there has been between him and his teammates.
I can't speak on the communication of the teammates. I haven't even spoke to Kyrie, but just the optics. And while Kyrie might not care about the optics, the logo, right? The logo, they do care about the optics, especially what's going on in the world. And you look at players like you talk about being personally affected by this. Karl Anthony Towns. So, like, now all of a sudden Kyrie's at a birthday party, then he steps on the court.
If it's recent, if it's recent, we don't know yet.
But how can Karl Anthony Towns look at a guy like Kyrie, and when I've lost my mom and my dad has been sick and I see you at birthday parties, you don't care about anybody else other than your family, your circle, and what you're trying to do. It just comes across as very selfish if it's true.
Well, I was going to ask you, Richard, because you played with Kyrie for 2 seasons, and you've mentioned some of the inconsistency where you've said in the past Hey, we walked into the locker room and I wasn't sure which Kyrie I was going to get. Is that something that you think is going on here now, or you're not?
Yes, but like Kyrie also showed up, right? Like Kyrie was there. He showed up, and he showed up big time. He showed up for multiple times over the course of those 2 years. So I think that's where Kyrie gets a lot of a pass. But the minute Kyrie has left, once he left Cleveland, and it wasn't great, but there were some reasons why you understood it. But he went to Boston, and then even his short amount of time here in Brooklyn, it is not going, the way that anybody wants. And so there's a lot of places in Boston and in Cleveland, they're sitting back like, hey, this is kind of what we told you. Like, you don't know what you're getting. I just hope that he gets whatever help, whether it's emotionally, mentally, whatever he needs to go do what he loves to do. And hopefully that's still the game of basketball.
And look, we don't know. It might be a family member he's trying to take care of. We don't know anything about what's going on there. It sounds like the Nets are still waiting as well. So we will see what comes from this investigation. Today's opening tip, CJ McCollum hits a clutch jumper to give the Blazers a 1-point lead. Less than 10 seconds left in the game.
This is nice.
That's
Producer Bomber from Portland would like to know if CJ stands for clutch jumper, Richard.
That is a beautiful jumper. It doesn't stand for that, but this wasn't in Tampa, was it? No, where is this, in Portland?
This is in Portland.
Okay,
What does CJ actually stand for?
You will have to find out. I don't know that about CJ.
It stands for Christian James.
Says Producer Steve.
Yeah.
There you go. See, on The Jump, we answer all manner of trivia. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols alongside Finals MVP Paul Pierce, NBA champ Richard Jefferson, who right before the show came on said that we were just all angry at him for how good he looks. So
that's true.
You can make the judgment about whether that is in fact the case.
Where's my close-up? Where do I get a close-up?
You get no close-up on anything. We are socially distanced, in fact, here in our LA studio. Later in the show, you are going to hear Christian James McCollum compare himself to a shark on the court.
Okay.
RJ, do you want to tell us what kind of animal you are?
Nope.
Paul, what do you got?
Grizzly bear.
Grizzly bear?
Grizzly
There we
bear.
go.
Okay.
When I played. Now I'm a teddy bear.
Nice.
This is so nice. Also coming up in this show, the NBA examining the video of Kyrie Irving maskless at a family party recently. Kyrie has missed the last 3 games due to, quote, personal reasons. Stick around for the latest out of Brooklyn. First, though, you know the old Dan Patrick line? You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him.
That was Dan Patrick?
That's basically the NBA and coronavirus now. Until there's enough vaccine distribution in this country for players to take their turn being immunized, there is no stopping COVID. Not outside a bubble, not this season. But the league absolutely has to try to contain the damage, both to player health and to the league itself, which is why the Board of Governors met this afternoon to go over new, tighter rules that the league has bargained with the Players Association. And they are strict. According to our Adrian Wojnarowski, when players are at home, they can only leave the house for practice, games, exercise outside, and essential activities like grocery shopping. On the road, they can no longer go to even a league-approved restaurant. Players, in fact, won't be allowed to leave the hotel at all, except for team activities. Now, up until today, players have been allowed to have one family member or, quote, close friend.
Why are you saying it like that?
Visit them in their hotel room when they're on the road. That has been outlawed now, too. And for at least the next 2 weeks, the NBA is also cracking down on in-game activities. More mask wearing on the bench, no more post-game handshakes that include maskless talking or hugging. Woj also says they're telling teams that in-person team meetings can't be more than 10 minutes, and everyone must wear a mask. The stricter rules are an attempt to beat back what, just 3 weeks into the season, has been a growing mushroom cloud of trouble. 5 games have had to be postponed, including tonight's Celtics-Bulls matchup. The number of players in the NBA's health and safety protocols have ballooned from just 11 last Wednesday to 27 by the weekend, and now 34. Some of those cases have come on the road, which presents an even bigger problem. It's not like a player who has been told to self-isolate for a week or 2 can just hop on the team plane. Instead, they find themselves basically locked into a hotel room where the organization figures out if there is a safe way to transport them home. Right now, as I speak, there are members of the Dallas Mavericks who for 5 days have been trapped in Denver a 12-plus hour drive away from home. And if you look at this map, you can see they're not the only ones. Now, Seth Curry got lucky. He tested positive when the Sixers were in New York, so he only needed to drive like 90 miles down I-95. But you had members of the Bulls organization who were told to isolate for contact tracing when they were in Washington, D.C. That is an 11-hour drive from Chicago that they had to take via COVID-safe car service back to Chicago. Members of the Clippers organization were in Salt Lake City. The ones who were being held out for contact tracing took separate Sprinter vans on the 10-hour ride back to L.A., then continued to isolate there. Miami was stuck up in Boston when they were hit with COVID issues. They had to fly players out on 3 separate planes, dividing up the healthy players from the positive player from those who had just been isolated for contact tracing. Indeed, it's the contact tracing that has been the most disruptive to the season so far. For every one player who tests positive, there are usually multiple other players who have been around him in close enough contact. The NBA feels it also needs to isolate them to prevent a much more dangerous or larger scale spread. That's absolutely the smart thing to do, but it's also what's been wreaking havoc. Take the Wizards as an example. Just in the past few days, they have had to sit Bradley Beal down for about 48 hours after the Celtics' Jason Tatum tested positive. Beal and Tatum had been guarding each other for much of the game the teams had played the night before, then had a close, maskless conversation afterward. Beal ended up passing several COVID tests and was eventually allowed to return, piling the Wizards to what was a great upset win over the Suns last night. I mean, seriously, look at this reverse layup, guys.
Bradley Beal. Oh, man. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
All right, Washington's win. Powered by him, powered by that. Should have been the kind of victory a team can really build on early in the season. Except when Coach Scott Brooks woke up this morning, he was told that 2 more of his players had to enter the protocol, which means practice was canceled. Again, Brooks noted it has been like this for the entire past month. The Wizards have not held a single shoot-around. They've had multiple practices canceled, and a key player suffer a significant injury that could at least possibly be related to all the stopping and starting of physical activity these guys have had to do. It has been a mess. The new measures approved today won't be able to prevent all cases of spread. Players still have to play games with or against each other. And we can expect some players to push back on the limits to their outside of work lives, particularly somebody's. Even though, as Brian Windhorst and Zach Lowe reported today, the NBA has had some cases of reinfection among players. Ooh. Still, the hope is that by tightening at least some measures, the league keeps things from spiraling further. You can't stop it. You can only hope to contain it. Boy, I really can't wait until the day we can once again say that and have it only apply to basketball. But today, unfortunately, is not that day. All right, guys, this is a lot. Right? A lot that we've had to deal with. And I want to bring in our insider, Brian Windhorst, to talk a little bit about that. I mentioned the story that you reported out with Zach Lowe. Players who previously tested positive for COVID are coming up with positive tests again. What are your sources saying, Brian?
Yeah, this is obviously concerning. It's happened in the last few days or week or so, 2 weeks, several players, and this is something that, the CDC doesn't have a handle on yet. We really don't know how long immunity lasts. We don't know whether it has to do with viral load and things like that are all medical terms. We also, there's also players who have been testing positive since March, and that's been 10 months. And maybe if they tested positive in March or April, when the testing wasn't as developed and there were possibilities of false positives, that some players who may test positive again didn't really have it the first time. But this is something that the league believes has happened. They believe they've had several incidences of reinfection. And this is an education point for the league, Rachel. As you were mentioning, one of the things that has been happening, there's so many players, hundreds of players, I really do believe, in talking to people that have had this virus over the last 7 to 10 months, believe that they have a level of immunity and they're operating like that away from the court, and that could be contributing to the rise in cases. So part of this reality is that they have to educate players and say, just because you've had it doesn't mean you can act like you would in a normal time.
How do you think everything that we just discussed, everything that the league has put out, they're going to now start doing, is going to sit with teams and players, and how effective do you think it's going to be?
Well, being stuck at home is going to be a big pushback because there are players who are routinely going out to dinner with one another, routinely spending time away from their homes. Again, because so many of them believe they have antibodies, and frankly, most of them probably do. But the problem, Rachel, is not necessarily the infections. It's the contact tracing. It's when one player on a team becomes positive, it's that 6 or 7 others have to be shut down, and now you're shut down for a week for that, and you're missing all these games. Obviously, they're worried about infections, but they're also trying to limit how many guys get affected so that maybe they can survive, but they can keep playing through a positive test, one on a team, as opposed to shutting down most of the roster.
All right, I want to bring Richard and Paul back into the conversation. So, given everything, Richard, I mean, you remember the first month or so of lockdown in most states around the U.S. You were not supposed to go outside for anything, and that is basically, except the grocery store. And that is basically what they are telling players the rest of the season is going to be like until they're vaccinated. How would you guys react to this if you were still playing today?
Well, one, let me compliment the NBA first. The fact that they're not trying to rush to the front of the line to get all of their players vaccinated, that's step one, because this is costing millions of dollars. They dedicated a ton of money to get all of the stuff done in the bubble. So it's like they're like, hey, no, it needs to be first for for our first line people, healthcare workers. Those are the people. That being said, the contact tracing, I don't want to say it's too much, but there's no way it's like, well, you guarded him, so you need to go away, because they have testing that.
That's rare. I will say the Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum thing is rare. They haven't done that as much.
Yeah, but that looks like where it's going. They're trying to okay, well, maybe if we put you away, then it's like, everybody was guarding Jason Tatum, right? So it's like you have to only do it when someone tests positive. When you're trying to sit players down and trying to do this stuff, it's going to add more, because now I understand contact tracing, but you can't do it when you're playing games to this extent.
Yeah, it's kind of contradicting. I go into a game and I'm playing them all game, but I go on the protocol for talking to them after the game. And so, but this is a big concern for me, because I know people that's been affected by COVID-19. And, as the cases grow, people are dying out here. So if I'm a player, this not only affects the player, but it affects, family members if you're around them, kids, people you're close to. And this is a real concern of mine. I think we really need to really take a step back as a league and take this a little more serious, because me personally, I know people have been affected by COVID-19 and has lost their lives. And, as the number of cases continue to grow, I'm not even sure about even moving forward. I know there's a lot of money involved in the NBA, but is it worth a person's life at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think what you're seeing today, these new protocols, it is what you say, Paul. It is the NBA saying, all right, we got to take it more seriously even than we have been. We've got to tighten up. I want to make a point about the contact tracing, though, Richard. I think the Beal-Tatum case is a bit of an outlier. Most of what we've seen with the contact tracing guys who have been out of games have been teammates, right, who have been in close proximity without a mask to a teammate who tests positive. And basically what these new rules today are basically forbidding is any of that kind of contact.
Yeah.
So that if in the future a guy tests positive for COVID, at least within the team functions, and they can't help it if 2 players get together at someone's house to hang out, they're telling guys not to do that. But within the team, they can say, look, one guy got it. No one else has to sit because no one else was around him without a mask outside of the game itself. And even on the benches, they're telling guys to now wear masks.
Yeah, but this is the issue with it. We knew that this was going to happen. So I just think that for us to be shocked at how are we going to, and I agree, we should have, the step back should have been before we took a step forward. Look at football, look at baseball, look what's happening in college. We knew that this was going to be the case. So 72 games, that was kind of a stretch there, right? They wanted
ambitious.
It was ambitious.
The second half of the schedule kind of.
Yes, and that's why they did it. But ultimately, I think the best thing for this to continue is just to push through.
Yep.
We know that's the only way. It's going to get ugly. Teams are going to should be second, might be seventh. The 8th team might be third. You don't know. But if you're going to, and the players are okay with their own personal safety, and they are willing to set up and do this, I think you just continue to push forward with all the protocols and realizing that it might end up being a 50-game season. And I'm okay with it as long as the players are okay.
Yeah, that's the question I have. How does it affect guys who are missing games? Like the Celtics have had 3 games postponed.
Yep.
Will they have a chance in the season to make up those games or not? Because if not, then you have a number of teams not playing the same amount of games. But it could come to that possibility. Then you cram it in games at the end of the year. You're playing back to back to back. That's going to affect teams also.
Yeah, I mean, I think competitive balance, right? You just have to say that's not a thing this year. There will be unfair things for certain teams. And the biggest one, by the way, is a team I'm about to mention, the Toronto Raptors. They're not even playing at home, guys. They're playing at Tampa the entire season, right?
Tampa is their home.
Well, your home was that line from Almost Famous? This is your home?
This is your home.
Do they get a tax break this year?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Their resident is in Florida. They're making extra money.
They lost their second straight game by 1 point last night, despite Pascal Siakam logging his first ever triple-double. They are 2-8, and I don't think it's a stretch to say that they have been affected by the fact that they can't even live in their own houses. Paul, they have lost their last couple games extremely closely. Do you think the turnaround is going to come for the Raptors soon?
Yes, I do think they'll get better. But do I think they're a playoff team? No, I do not. I mean, if you look at their games, like you said, they've lost the last 2 games by 1. I think they've lost like 5 or 6 games within 5 points. And they've had leads, like double-digit leads in most of their games. It's just a tough situation you're asked the Raptors to be in because, like you said, they're not at home. You know, not only did they lose Siakam, they lost Gasol, but they're in Tampa. It's a lot of unfamiliarity with the area, with the arena, with not being around your family. I know there's no fans.
No, Paul.
Like, you're a creature of habit.
Paul.
You know that drive to the arena, that place where you get your food from.
No,
There's so many things that
Paul,
you're unfamiliar
we're
with.
professionals. I know you were fortunate that you played in Boston for 92 years, but most NBA players have to go to different teams in different cities, and
How
they
many
have to
teams
make
did
these
you play
adjustments.
for, Richard?
All of them at this point in time. Play for everyone, some of them twice.
Isn't that, I mean, the number's more than 10, right?
You know, who knows? But my point is that players are creatures of habit. But your habit, if they were to get traded to the Tampa Bay whatever, then they would start the process of getting...
Tampa Bay whatever.
I'm just saying they would start the process of getting familiar with their city and what they need. And understand, too, we talk about the adjustment. These are the Toronto Raptors. They had to make a big adjustment every single time they would have to go to Canada. That's what they talk about with free agents in Toronto. Do you want to deal with customs, the tax bracket, all the different things? Well, the players are making more money being in Tampa. I know for guys like Kyle Lowry that's making $30 million, I bet you he has a pretty comfortable home in Tampa, right? I'm just saying, like, we can't sit here and make excuses. They're struggling. They're not playing well. They will play better. They will play better, but I can't give them this, oh, well, they're having to relocate. That's part of what we've always had to do as basketball players.
Brian?
Well, Kyle Lowry may be getting more money, but he doesn't get to play golf in Tampa the next 2 weeks. That's really going to be a blow.
Ooh, that's right.
Paul
Can't leave his house.
Paul referenced this. Out of the 8 losses that the Raptors have, I think they've been ahead in 6 of the fourth quarters.
Yeah.
So the belief, though, is while they're 2-8, that they actually aren't as bad as that record, and that Siakam, who frankly was terrible the first 2 weeks of the season, he played much better on this road trip, and you mentioned the triple-double. So I think I would not give up on them. They are in a hole, but I would not give up, and I also think they're a candidate to make a trade at some point in this season to upgrade their roster.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is this. With COVID protocols and with all of this stuff, they'll have an opportunity to get back into it. Have less room for error now, but they will have an opportunity to get back, and I still think they're a playoff team.
So much more to come in this season like this. So nothing that's happening right now we can say is going to be a trend because there are no trends right now. There just aren't. All right, guys. Brian, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Stay in your own home, apparently. That's all you're going to do from now on, just like an NBA player. Coming up on this show, after Giannis's failed attempt to
tell you.
Another day, another time. Miss, patience. Off the miss. LaMelo collecting it. Chucks it down the court to Gordon Hayward. Look at that arm.
Look at that.
Richard, there's a lot of full court passes. All the rage right now. We're seeing one every night.
Whatever. This is a good pass, and Gordon just being Gordon, he's just going to shoot it to get the young kid an assist. Look at these full court passes. That means there's terrible defense. Bad defense.
Nobody's getting
Get back on defense. You ain't seen one of these against the San Antonio Spurs, have you?
This was a staple of your Cavaliers teams, Richard.
Yeah, well, Kevin Love, that's why.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it wasn't like Braun. It wasn't Braun to Kevin Love.
It was a Wes Unseld he had.
Yeah, look at that.
That's
a great pass.
That's nice.
That's nice. No hate.
You think they practiced that?
No.
No one can practice anymore. There's no practicing anything.
They weren't practicing.
Make Star Fox. It's been a frustrating stretch for the Kings, but last night, De'Aaron Fox put exclamation mark on a home win versus Indy.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The Sacramento Kings have the best starting lineup in the... No, I'm just kidding. No, they are playing...
What?
No, I gave them a little heat because I said they didn't have a very good starting lineup. But the kid, Halliburton, is very, very good. And you should enjoy watching him.
But we just saw Fox on the high.
I'm just saying their team. We're talking about their team. That's a
Who
great
coaches
dunk.
that team, Richard?
I don't
Would
know.
that be
Who
your
cares?
old roommate?
Yeah, some
Luke
bum.
Walton?
Some bum. The former Laker coach.
Asking
former Laker
college roommate.
Yeah, the former Laker coach.
Miss layups, Grizzlies, Cavs. Grizz out and running, and Brandon Clark smashes home the alley-oop. Paul, how fun is this team going to be when they get healthy?
They're going to be really excited. I liked them last year. Unfortunately, they're dealing with some injuries. But this team is going to be fun. I didn't expect them to be winning this much or even playing at this high level without Ja Morant.
It's been on and off. There's been some rough nights,
they've
some
been
good.
still in every game.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean,
We'll see. Long way to go.
again, you don't know what's going to happen to every other team this season. So your stretch with injured players could turn out to be nothing compared to other teams. All right, make awareness. Suns whiz. Mentioned this game at the top of the show. Ball's going out. Mo Wagner checks it off Dario Saric, who's lying on the ground.
Genius.
Smart.
Smart. I love the music in the
It's
background.
always the guy who's closest to the ball.
Oh, yeah. Who was it that threw the ball at somebody's head one time like that? Where it's just like, you're just being extra.
I mean, this is pretty extra. This whole clip.
Heads up play. That's a heads up play.
Heads up play. No pun intended.
Nothing dirty about that.
Oh.
This is the proper way to get back at a player if you can.
Yeah, that's what I said. Somebody throw the ball at him.
at
Like,
him.
here.
Ref can't call a tech with that.
Yeah, take
I'm
that.
trying to pass.
Yeah, that's not
Incidental right there.
incidental contact, man.
There's nothing incidental,
Me
and I
and the
should not have to
potatoes,
tell
right there.
two men that. Miss obstacles, Bucks Magic. Aaron Gordon driving in and packing it over Giannis, who was trying to
This
take it
does
to
not count as a made dunk. Come on, it came out the rim. I mean, come on. I can't count that as being banged on.
First of all,
You know what I'm saying?
if it
Come
wasn't
on.
Aaron Gordon, then I might give him a
Oh,
pass.
it
but
got to
he just
go. What's the
Agreed.
definition of a dunk? It has to go,
has to go
through
in
the net clean.
Yeah.
And it was a nice move. And if you caught the picture right there, it looked nice.
All it is the poster.
It's
You just
about
need the
poster.
picture.
He
They send
definitely
you
got
the
poster.
picture of it right before. That's all that matters.
Yeah, the poster nice though.
Yeah, oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
But it's
yeah.
not considered a dunk.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I'm not putting
Okay,
that on
you're
NBA
right.
top 100 dunks.
You're right. It's not going. If he would have made it.
Okay, but the focus on the defensive end, the charge that
Why?
was
Yeah,
not a
I mean,
charge.
Why?
I'm just saying, because now it's time to run it back, and we are counting down.
Oh, there we
the top
go.
5 charges gone
Nice
wrong.
segue, Rach.
That's why Richard Jefferson,
I was like,
number
what?
5.
Oh, no.
2013.
Who was that?
Xavier Henry on Jeff
Oh,
Witt.
I remember Xavier Henry. How about that flashback?
Oh, nice.
Ooh. Is he a Kansas guy?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Both
Paul had to
Kansas
think a
guys,
second. I was
by
like,
the
oh.
way. And producer Danny says in my ear, Xavier. We all know how to pronounce LeBron.
See, that's
Paul
why
Millsap,
I didn't take a lot
2013.
of charges, man.
My guy, Paul, man.
I didn't take a lot of charges. I did in college, but once you got to the league, everybody
Yeah, you
jumped
can't
from
take no
outside.
charges.
Everybody jumping from outside the lane. Like, come on.
Oh,
This
no.
was crazy.
This was bad.
Right? Ricky Davis on Steve Nash, 2002.
That's why Ricky is Ricky.
Ricky.
Run, Ricky, run.
Ricky,
Ricky, look at that.
Come on,
That
man.
one-legged bounce was crazy.
Woo.
Look
What
at
did he
him.
say after?
I don't know.
we don't use that language on TV. 2006, Kobe on Steve Nash.
Nash again? Come on, Nash, stop.
Gosh, you know what? He wasn't going
He's
to block
playing
it.
defense.
Steve wasn't going to block it.
Yeah, it wasn't known for his defense either.
No.
Just
Trying to
saying, he
take a
tried.
Yeah, you
Come on,
just,
Steve.
you know this. Sometimes it's being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Well, anyone defending Kobe Bryant.
Oh,
this is-
oh.
92, the Blister.
Look at that. Remember, you could get away with all that. That wasn't no technical,
No technical.
point at him, get back down.
That was awesome.
Today, that's
he
like
cuffed it like Dr. J, too.
Woo.
He was my
that
favorite
was
dunker.
nasty.
Him and Dominique were my 2 favorite dunkers growing up.
Ooh. See, that's when the league was fun. You can get away with all this.
I was like counting down. I was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's when things were better.
I didn't say it.
Oh, my God.
Body snatchers.
There we go.
I'm sure Richard had a few of those
One or two.
where he dunked on somebody taking a
Or
charge.
12 over 8 teams. Coming up next,
Steph and Draymond weren't on the plane at the departure time. Called Steph to see what was going on, and Steph said, "Oh, my fault. I'm with Drake and Draymond. We're at the arena still. We're sorry we're late." And we had a team rule at the time that you could bring a friend on the plane, a couple times a year. And unbeknownst to me, Steph decided to use one of his slots for Drake. So Drake got on the plane that night with Draymond and Steph, and I fined all three of them for being late. And Drake paid his $500 fine. You can ask him that. True story.
Welcome back to The Jump. First of all, shout out to Steve Kerr for the Breonna Taylor shirt. Very important to keep her name out there. And the funny story of him explaining why he was forced to fine Drake, Steph, and Draymond $500 for being late to a team flight. So, Paul, this led us to ask, did the Celtics allow A-list guests on any team planes?
I don't think so. I don't think Kevin would allow that.
No, okay.
Kevin KG wasn't playing that.
Okay.
I can't, not one I can think of.
I never saw that. On the 19 teams that I played for in the league, I never saw that.
By the time the show's over, Richard will have played for 42 NBA teams.
Yes.
I guess, when you win 3 titles in 5 years, you can bring Drake on the team plane. That's all I'm saying. Steve's story, definitely real talk. So in honor of that, oh yes, it's time. Let's play one of our favorite games.
The ball deserves to go in the crowd after a bull move like that.
I think it's bullshit.
I just thought it was bullshit.
Don't give me that crap!
Kersey, yeah.
That's right. It's time for BS or Real Talk. The first one is from Sunday night when the Nuggets beat the Knicks by 25 in MSG. Jokic had 22, 10, and 5. After the game, though, Knicks center Mitchell Robinson said this about guarding Joker.
It ain't really hard at all. You can guard anybody. Just depending on how you play him. I was there on every move he did. He just made tough shots. I feel like so. It wasn't hard at all.
Is that BS or Real Talk for Mitchell Robinson?
Let me tell Mitchell Robinson, that's what great players do. They make bad shots. That's BS. Bull. Complete.
I got a lot of respect for Mitchell Robinson saying this because you should show no fear. You should. But at the end of the day, let's be real. Like, his numbers speak for himself. Jokic, like, that's what he is. But so it's BS, but I like it. You should let your teammates know there's no fear. Whoever I'm going to have to guard, I'm going to do a great job.
If it's not hard, go out there and stop him. He had 20 and 10 that night.
Yeah, that's the thing. You did a great job. You held him to 20, 10, and 5.
You held him to under triple-double, which he's averaging.
Which he's averaging. Right, so, like, by those numbers.
22 and 10.
Well, yeah, those are great.
He held him to 5 less assists.
I did ask our researcher for the numbers one-on-one and sort of that thing. I don't know if we can throw that up there. So there you go.
72%.
But that's
when defended by Robinson, Jokic scored 15 points, 6 and 9 from the floor, effective field goal percentage.
When you talk like that, you put pressure on yourself. You got to come back and lock that up next time.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's also easier to talk like that when you're in a different conference and you only could possibly see him 1 or 2 times a year. You don't really say that when you could possibly go against somebody in the playoffs, but it's the Knicks. Why I'm talking about.
He's been a great spot for their team.
Great spot.
This promising season. I agree with you. I think it's nice to talk the talk, but then, yeah, people might. Okay. Let's move on to CJ McCollum, who we featured off the top of the show after that smooth clutch bucket. CJ finishing the game with 30 points, helped lead the Blazers back from a 17-point deficit last night. Now, after the game, CJ was asked why he, likes to compare himself to a shark.
Why is a shark the animal that you compare yourself to when you get going?
I'm a killer. Figure out ways to eat. I've always figured out ways to eat. And I think that's what best describes me. Sharks just go hunt. They don't worry about things. They never worry about how they're going to get their next meal. They don't worry about anything. And that's how I live my life.
I am so into the give no whatevers, CJ, we're getting this year.
100.
Right?
I'll give him that.
I'll give him 100.
Real talk?
Give him that. Hey,
Real
listen,
talk.
the numbers speak this year. I'm giving that to CJ. Christian, what is it? Christian Johnson?
James or Christian John?
Christian James. All right,
Christian James. I'm with you, Christian James. Like, I'm 100% because this is why. That's what a shark does. When a shark is a shark, they don't hunt in packs. They just kind of do what they do. Great white sharks, they're out there eating, sleeping, pooping. That's all they do, right? And so, like, look, when he gets going, the only thing he's saying is that, like, I don't care about anything else. I don't care about who's in front of me. I don't care about what play call the coach is making. When I got the ball, I'm looking to eat. And he was eating.
I'm telling you, when early in the season, CJ answered a question with, I know I'm nice. I was like, all right.
Like Bradley Beal. You suck.
You're getting that CJ
Yeah,
McCollum this year.
Yeah.
And I am so here for it. All right, guys, coming up, we have the latest on Kyrie Irving's status after missing the last 3 games due to personal reasons. Stick around to find out why the league is now investigating and examining this video of Kyrie maskless at a family party.
At least they watermarked it. What website is this on?